Hare Krishna. I would like to greet and welcome all of you. I notice some of you have come just maybe this last evening and they are now here. I just wanted to also point your attention. Do you notice how the forest of Vrindavan grows here? It's a living forest. Every day some new plants are arriving and more parrots are flying. Can you see? Very, very nice. The forest grows. Also, have you noted today the deities are really in such an amazing outfit and environment? Have you noticed the mirrors and how they reflect back on you? Very beautiful. In Radha and Krishna's pastimes, there is they actually use mirrors. When Srimati Radharani is fully decorated in the morning with all her garlands, all her jewels, and so on, then a devotee, not a devotee, a Saki, means a friend of hers, brings a mirror and she sees her own beauty reflected in the mirror. So at that time, Radharani feels, oh, this beauty should be relished by Sri Krishna, and she becomes very impatient to present herself before Sri Krishna for his pleasure. It's very interesting. She doesn't think, oh, beautiful I am. Wow, I'm really mesmerizingly beautiful. She notices that, but she immediately thinks this should be for Krishna. So beautiful arrangements. I think if you have a photographic function in your mobile telephone, this is definitely a motive, something to photograph and take with you. You will see, maybe this is one of the special characteristica of Golokadam. Yes, there are some external things which make it different. For instance, do you know that we are in the midst of a nature park, a nature protected area? That is maybe one very nice feature. It invites us immediately to come here and learn to breathe again, fresh air. The other is that the deities are worshipped really with so much creativity that we can only ask ourselves, from where is this creativity coming? I mean, today I thought, I never ever could imagine in my life a mirror outfit. This is really something substantially different, and I can only conclude it must be Krishna who inspires these surrendered devotees who serve Radha Madan Mohan since many years, who gives them these ideas. You know, maybe you notice when you are there standing in the morning before the closed curtain, you never know what to expect. You never know it. The deities are so absolutely full of surprises that yes, you might as well just surrender and say, well, whatever it is, it will be wonderful. Good, my dear devotees. Today I want to give a class on the Bhagavatam which has a practical dimension. Yesterday, when I was receiving our devotees from Holland, one of the devotees asked me, how can we actually relish the Bhagavatam? Sometimes when I read the Bhagavatam, I feel a little bit, I've read this again, and I don't feel so enthusiastic and inspired. So I said to him that I will answer your question today in the Bhagavatam class, and I think when we come to a temple, we should always learn more how to execute a devotional service with taste, so that we have taste while we do this. So this will be a lecture on this subject. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kvachit drudantya chuta chintaya kvachvis right tune here. Oh, this morning I had it. Can someone help me? It's a very...
May I help you?
Yeah. Yes. Kvachit rudanja chuta chintaya kvachit dashanti nandanti vadant yalokika. Dashanti nandanti vadant yalokika. Nrityanti gayanti anu Shilayantyajam Shilayantyajam Bhavanti tushnim parametya nivrita. Bhavanti tushnim parametya nivrita. Kvachit rudantya chuta chintaya kvachit. Kvachit rudantya Dashanti nandanti vadantya lokika. Dashanti nandanti vadantya lokika. Nrityanti gayanti anushilayantyajam. Nrityanti gayanti anushilayantyajam. Bhavanti tushnim parametya nivrita. Bhavanti tushnim parametya nivrita. Yes, please, someone else.
Vachitrudantya chutta chintaya kvachit.
Vachitrudantya chutta chintaya kvachit.
Dasanti nandanti vadantya laukika.
Dasanti nandanti vadantya laukika.
Nrityanti gayanti anushilayantyajam.
Nrityanti gayanti anushilayantyajam.
Bhavanti tushnim parametya nivrita.
Bhavanti tushnim parametya nivrita.
Vachitrudantya chutta chintaya kvachit.
Vachitrudantya chutta chintaya kvachit.
Dashanti nandanti vadantya lokika.
Dashanti nandanti vadantya lokika.
Nrityanti gayanti anushilayantyajam.
Nrityanti gayanti anushilayantyajam.
Bhavanti tushnim parametya nivrita.
Bhavanti tushnim parametya nivrita. Yes, maybe one Vaishnavi. Vachitrudantya chutta chintaya kvachit. Dashanti nandanti vadantya lokika. Nrityanti gayanti anushilayantyajam. Bhavanti tushnim parametya nirvitam. Kvachit. Sometimes. Rudanti. They cry. Achyuta. Of the infallible Supreme Lord. Chintaya. By the thoughts. Kvachit. Sometimes. Hasanti. They laugh. Nandanti. Take great pleasure. Vadanti. Speak. Alokika. Acting amazingly. Nrityanti. They dance. Gayanti. They sing. Anushila. as it's actually Anushilayanti, and imitate. I am the unborn. Bhavanti, they become. Dushnim, silent. Param, the supreme. Etya, obtaining. Nirvita, freed from distress. Good. The verse you know already. I read it in my first lecture, and there's a reason why I take exactly the same verse in the second lecture, which will hopefully intrigue and fascinate you. It describes devotees who have obtained the rare state of love of Godhead. Having achieved love of Godhead, the devotees sometimes cry out loud, absorbed in thought of the infallible Lord. Sometimes they laugh, feel great pleasure, speak out loud to the Lord, dance or sing. Such devotees have transcended material conditioned life. They sometimes imitate the unborn Supreme by acting out his pastimes, and sometimes achieving his personal audience, they remain peaceful and silent. In the first part of the purport, there's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's amazing purport to this verse. He says, the devotees cry, thinking, another day has passed, and still I could not obtain Krishna. Then what will I do? Where will I go? From whom shall I inquire? And who can possibly help me reach Krishna? Hasanti. Hasanti means they laugh, no? It is late at night, the sky is dark, and Krishna is determined to steal from the house of one of the elderly gopis. He's hiding underneath a tree in the corner of the courtyard belonging to one of the cowherd men. Although Krishna thinks that he's completely concealed, he suddenly hears a voice from one of the elderly members of the family. Who are you there? Who are you, I say? Thus Krishna has been caught, and he begins to flee the courtyard. When this humorous scene is revealed to the devotee begins to laugh heartily. Nandanti was, they take great pleasure. When Krishna actually reveals his transcendental form to the devotee experiences the highest transcendental bliss, and Vadanti, the devotee, speaks to the Lord and says, "O Krishna, after so many days, I have finally achieved you." So then the purport continues, and we will read a little bit more. It's a lengthy purport, so I will not be able to read the whole thing. When all of the devotees' senses are absorbed in Krishna, the devotee has successfully transcended the material condition of life. You know, with his eyes, the devotee sees Krishna. With his ears, he hears Krishna's words. With his mind, he thinks about Krishna's amazing pastimes. And in this way, all his senses are absorbed in Krishna. And when that is there, when our senses are totally engaged with Krishna, then the devotee has successfully transcended the material condition of life. This is indicated by the word alokika. Alokika or the transcendental platform is explained by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Some of us know the verse, so you might like to join me. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhujaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Good. Please, all say with me. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pachaline Nirvishesha Shunyavari Paskatyare Satadine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, my dear devotees, it is a great pleasure to address you this morning on the method how you can extract nectar from the Bhagavatam as you read it. In other words, we will look at how our Bhagavatam reading can bring a manifestation of Krishna in our heart. In the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, verse 2, when the Bhagavatam is just opening, so to say, there is a verse which says that the Lord becomes established in the heart as soon as one attentively and submissively hears the Bhagavatam. Hearing also refers to reading. No? When we read, we are in a way engaging with the sound vibration that is put in the form of letters in a book. No? So the Lord becomes established in the heart. Sometimes it is translated also that the Lord becomes captured in the heart, as if he is roaming around somewhere, and when you hear the Bhagavatam, at that time the Lord becomes captured. In the traditional culture of Bhagavatam, there's a cultural thing that sometimes devotees establish a seat for Krishna, because they know when the Bhagavatam is recited, Krishna, wherever he walks, he hears it, and then he discontinues walking where he was moving about, and he comes to the assembly of the devotees and sits. Mostly he sits in the back of the lecture. So here in this scenario, he would sit with the Ukrainian devotees in that part. He's there in his aprakat form, and he listens to the Bhagavatam. To catch the vibration of the Bhagavatam, or to catch the Bhagavatam so that it doesn't just enter one ear and leaves the other ear, there is a certain process. But first I would like to say, when you know this process, my dear devotees, it's not so difficult to catch Krishna or to catch the sound vibration and to bring it in the heart, because the Bhagavatam is described to be very sweet. It's like a mango that has been handed down through the parampara or the disciplic succession, so that it is received by us in the present day. I like this idea that the Bhagavatam is like a ripe mango. For most of us, the Bhagavatam is like a green mango. Only for those who are bhavukas, whose heart is already full of love, the Bhagavatam is seen as extremely tasty, like a ripe mango. For those whose taste is not yet born, who are in other words still a little bit conditioned by the material energy, the Bhagavatam is like a green mango, and green mangoes usually don't taste so sweet. Do you know that this is not a problem? Both the very advanced devotee who relishes the Bhagavatam as extremely sweet, as well as the young, or let us say, the not yet so mature devotee, can relish the Bhagavatam. However, the devotee who is not yet so mature and who tastes the Bhagavatam as green has to know how to gestate the Bhagavatam. This is a difficult word, I admit. He has to know how to ripen it, so that in his heart he really can relish the mature fruit of the Bhagavatam. And here we are very well advised if we go to the Indian to study how they harvest mangoes in India. It's interesting, they many times take the green mango from the fruit, from the tree, and then they have a special little hut where there are various layers of leaves, and they place the mango in between these leaves, and they let it gestate. It matures and matures, and then becomes extraordinary sweet. I'm presently doing this, not with mangoes, but with kaki fruits. I received a gift of 3 kaki fruits, and they were a little hard. So I didn't eat them immediately. I have started to eat yesterday one of the kaki fruits. I mean, I've completed it. I ate the whole thing. But I needed to first put it with other fruits. I put it next to oranges and bananas, because that's all I had. And then I waited for a few days, and then somehow the fruits are, I don't know, they're inspiring each other also, and it became very mature. So yesterday I had my first kaki fruit, and today, if Krishna is merciful to me, I will have my second kaki fruit. I plan to take it in the noontime, but we have to see if it is if Krishna is kind to me. So the idea which I want to transfer to you is, there is a way how you can make immature or green fruits mature. Or there is a way how you can help fruits to ripen. So when you come in contact with the Bhagavatam, and you may feel not so fascinated by the literature, not so fascinated by reading it. There is a process which you can apply, which will make you taste the Bhagavatam with so much happiness and relish that you will become a regular reader of Bhagavatam. Like I think about 25% of you here in the room is already relishing the Bhagavatam. So the process which is given in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad and quoted by our acharyas is this. You first hear the Bhagavatam and then you reflect about the Bhagavatam, you think about it, what it could mean, and then you apply it. I will take you through this text today and will apply all the three processes. The idea here is, as Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj would say, you need to engage actively with the Bhagavatam so that the Bhagavatam reveals itself. Have you ever been in a, I think we all know, when we get to know someone, then the best way to stabilize or to make our relationship stable and firm is if we engage actively with them. For instance, our devotees from Holland have made a pilgrimage, and on the pilgrimage they get to know each other. They get to know Mr. Venkateshwaram, who has this amazing photo machine, or what is it called? Photo camera, yes. Ooh, and they get to know other devotees. I hear there is one judge amongst them. Have to be careful that we say the right things, so that we are not judged, and so on. And by doing something together, engaging together in something, the relationship becomes very, very established. I would like to give an example. Here amongst you is a young daughter of a devotee, and I thought I'm always inviting her to join the Kirtan Mandali, so that we can together with a Mridanga player, harmonium player, other kata players and singers do something, and then the relationship will be more. No? Or yesterday there was a father with his son, and I thought, let me offer the son a little cheesecake and let him eat this, and then we will eat. Then the relationship will become more. Only if you do something with someone is the relationship increasing. I do remember when Prabhupada was in Germany giving darshan, he would always ask us, this person who wants to see me, has he done some service for Krishna? And Prabhupada would choose the people who wanted to speak to him. He needed to do it because there were too many people for a day. So he needed to see, I can't see everyone, let me see those who are engaging already with Krishna consciousness. So with the Bhagavatam, you need to also engage. There needs to be some active engagement so that you come to this. And this active engagement is, you need to reflect as you read about the Bhagavatam. You can't just hear. You need to reflect. Perhaps you have noted it. When I read the purport to you, most of you may have difficulties to remember what the purport was. I find this is a great problem in our Bhagavatam class is that when I sit in a Bhagavatam class and I listen to the purport, because I don't engage actively with it, I tend to forget it, so that if you ask me what was the purport about that was read to you, I will have a great difficulty to repeat it properly. Even sometimes I can't remember even one single point, because I have not actively engaged with the text. Therefore, it just doesn't stick to me, it doesn't stay with me. So this process of engaging with a divine text, spiritual text, the process of engaging actively with it is twofold. The first is, after hearing, you need to stop and reflect about it. Let me do this for you today with this text. Should we read the text again just to know where it is? Would it be helpful for you?
Yes.
Good. Then I will do this. Kvachit rudantya chutachintaya kvachit. Most of us don't speak Sanskrit, so I go immediately to the English. When someone has achieved love of Godhead, or having achieved love of Godhead, the devotees sometimes, do you remember what they do? Cry, yes. And at other times, what do? They laugh, yes. Because they are absorbed in thought of the infallible Lord. Sometimes they laugh, they feel great pleasure, they speak out loud to the Lord. And do you remember what they also do when they in love of Godhead? They dance, yes, or they sing. Wow, you remember everything. Such devotees have transcended material conditioned life, and sometimes they imitate the unborn Supreme Lord by acting out his pastimes. And sometimes, when they achieve the personal audience, they remain peaceful and silent. Beautiful verse. So, a devotee, after having read this, can say, stop. Let me stop here. I want to now engage actively with the text. Let me reflect on it. And the first question he might ask is, in which context does this text appear? Do you understand this word context? In German it's Zusammenhang. You know, what was before it? What led to this text? And as you ask this simple question, it gets interesting, and you have to go into it. And what you will find out is that the Bhagavatam is a little bit like these matrushkas. Do you know these Russian dolls? It is from outside it looks like a farmer's lady, and then you can open it, and then there's another farmer's lady inside. Then you open it, and you see another. I had a matrushka when I was young. It was a real substantial matrushka, which had 7 other matrushkas in it. That was, a real masterpiece of a matrushka. So, in the same way, you find in the Bhagavatam, there is one, when you open it, whoa, there is another subject. And when you open it, and yet another subject. When you open it, you find still another subject. In this way, your reading becomes a happy discovery, where you find one subject after another. On the first layer here, on the ultimate layer, we find Shukadev Goswami talking to Parikshit Maharaj, And then another layer is the saint, the Sutta Goswami talks to the saints in the Naimisharanya. But here we find that one king had let me you need to hear the whole thing because it's so fascinating. So there was Narada Muni. Let's start here. Narada Muni came regularly to Dwaraka. Can you imagine why? He wanted to see Krishna's pastimes. He would sometimes stay in the clouds, in the air, by his Shaktis. He could stay in the air and didn't need even an airplane or a helicopter. No, just on his own. He stood there and he would look from above how Krishna would leave, for instance, 16,000 palaces. Wow, he saw 16,000, some say 108 Krishnas leaving at the same time the palaces, because he needed to go in the morning to the assembly house and attend to the matters of state. So Narada Muni wanted to see this every day, and he resided almost exclusively in Dwaraka. And there he one day met with Vasudeva. And Vasudeva was a little disturbed. You might ask, he's the father of Krishna, why is he disturbed? Well, listen to this. Vasudeva had approached the Lord with a desire to have a son, and he thought the best son is God. So he had worshipped Lord Ananta for a long time to obtain a son. And when Krishna appeared in his family, he related to him as a son, but he never ever saw him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and never asked him for liberation from the repeated circle of birth and death. So he also did not render pure devotional service. So he asked Narada Muni, I have Krishna, but I feel I've wasted my time. I just saw him as a child who needs this and that and the other thing. Could you please now instruct me how I can worship Krishna as the Supreme Lord by rendering pure devotional service to him? So Narada Muni heard this and said, Vasudeva, your question how to do pure devotional service is really good. I don't want to just give you answer this on my own. I want to refer you to a discussion which took place between the king of Vaidehi, Maharaj Nimi, and the 9 Yogendras. The 9 Yogendras were mystical people or yogis who were sons of who? Maharaj Rishabdev. Yes. And they were naked saints. They did not show any interest in any type of clothing. Nothing. Not. I mean, really nothing. Not even saintly dress. But to speak of ordinary dress. They were absolutely. It said they were dressed by the 4 directions. And they were roaming around the universe, finding people who were interested to hear about Krishna. So they knew that there was this king, Maharaj Nimi, who was a great personality, really, and they decided to appear before Maharaj Nimi. We can imagine Maharaj Nimi is there in his state, and all of a sudden from above these 9 Yogendras appear before him. He pays his obeisances and he says, I have some questions. The Yogendras say, we know, so ask your question. Maharaj Nimi had exactly 9 questions, and he asked each one of the 9 Yogendras one question. So he asked one question, which I want to, which is leading to this verse. And Maharaj Nimi asked, how can even a foolish materialist easily cross over the ocean of illusion, which is insurmountable for those who are not self-controlled? You know, most of us are not fully self-controlled because we are bewildered by the material energy, and so many projects and desires and goals appear to us. So Maharaj Nimi asked a question which is relevant to each one of us. By the way, when I meet my godbrothers or any saintly person, I always ask them this same question. I ask, can you please tell me how I can make advancement in Krishna consciousness? So Maharaj Nimi has this paradigmical question which should interest us. What is this Yogendra, Prabhuda, answering to this question? How a foolish materialist who is like me, not yet self-regulated or self-controlled, how is he able to come to Krishna consciousness? Do you begin to understand? All of a sudden, this, as I unpack the matrushkas of the Bhagavatam and try to understand the context in which it appears, it becomes very interesting. So Prabhupada starts. He first of all, in case Maharaj Nimi is not totally convinced and just asked the question without meaning it, he wants to make sure that Maharaj Nimi understands that material life is really miserable. You know, you find this in spiritual communities often. Devotees say something, but they don't mean it. No? They say, for instance, please forgive my offenses. And if you ask them, what did you do? They go like, oh, I don't know. Isn't this what we say here when we meet someone? Prabhupada, I found this very endearing, wants to first make sure, Maharaj Nimi, do you really mean what you asked? Have you thought about your question? Is it really your question, or is it the question of someone else? So you have asked how one can easily cross over Maya, which is insurmountable for most people. So let me first of all tell you, material life is miserable. You can't enjoy here. Material life, Maya promises you one thing, but it never keeps the promise. Have you noticed this aspect? No? You feel, oh, if I have this new item, if I have just this new telephone from Samsung, number 108, you know, I need. I don't know, I don't know where the Samsung is at the moment. Maybe, I I have no idea, so let me not even guess. So you want the newest model with the newest abilities, but then you have it and it's just not what it is supposed to be. Like we have one model in our preaching party, and whenever it's cold, the foolish thing starts to freeze and it doesn't work any longer. So yes, we were hoping that this would be a good mobile telephone, but it is always freezing in winter and in the night, and it's absolutely unsatisfactorily so then he goes on. He says, if you want real happiness, I'm showing you now the way. And he makes the point, you need to take shelter under the lotus feet of a spiritual master. You need Guru Ashraya. Sometimes we asked ourselves, why is it important to have a spiritual master? Well, it is important because he can teach us or show us the way. He knows the way, he goes the way, and he can teach us the way in our life, how to obtain real satisfaction in our life. Often in our lives, even as devotees, we get stuck somewhere and we can't move forward. We are in a hamster wheel and we trying different things, but it seems to not work for us. So at that time, it's important to go to our spiritual master and say, I'm stuck. And then Prabhupada continues. He says, and you know, when you learn from a spiritual master, you should take to the process of Bhagavad Dhamma. You should actually practice Krishna consciousness to attain Krishna. But be careful. As you are focusing your eyes on Krishna, and I think this is a problem for many of us, you must also learn to deal properly with all living beings. There's now one child who is uncomfortable. Maybe the mother wants to see. Sometimes it helps to just move with the child. Hare Krishna. Now the child is silent. God. So don't just focus on Krishna. This is, I think, what many of us in the old days did wrong. You need to learn how to deal properly with the Vaishnavas. If, for instance, you have problems with Vaishnavas, with devotees, then you cannot satisfy Krishna. Krishna will not really be impressed by your sincerity, and so on. Then he continues, you need to learn some yamas and niyamas. These are some rules which relate to others, like you should not lie to them and steal and all these things. And also there are rules which relate to yourself. That is, you need to study regularly, you need to perform some little austerities like this, no? And then he ends his point. He says, then you should take to the process of bhakti yoga. He gives Maharaj Nimi an instruction. Learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord. Learn how to gather with them and chant together with the devotees the glories of the Lord. I like our evening programs also always, because in this evening program we usually try to do what devotees do. We speak about Krishna, that's what devotees do. And then we chant together the glories of the Lord by doing kirtan. This process is most purifying. And devotees should develop their loving friendship, and if they do, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. Have you ever felt in your life when you are able to find good devotee friends and exchange with them, you become so happy and so satisfied? So this must be learned. How can I make a friendship? I'm such an unsocial person. I'm such a lonely wolf. I joined this Krishna consciousness because my relationships were dysfunctional, and now I keep on the same thing. And but if I correct it, I will feel happiness and satisfaction. Now, I found this very important, that in order to practice Krishna consciousness, you can't just run away from relationships. You have to learn to associate with devotees and make friendships with them. And then, because devotees can encourage you to give up the anchor of material life, that is sense gratification. Do you know one of the main functions of devotee association is to help each other give up sense gratification? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, one devotee will say to another, "Oh, you have given up sense gratification? Starting from today, I shall also give it up." Devotees can, in other words, encourage you to go the path, my dear devotees. And to go the path, you need to take the anchor out of material life. Therefore, it's very important when devotees associate, they should not just exchange the newest football results. No? Oh yeah, Germany became World Cup master, I think. They should learn to encourage each other on the path of Krishna consciousness and help each other to give up sense gratification. They shouldn't entangle each other in more sense gratification. That's very, very good. And then the next, this is 11.3.30, but there is also verse 31. I like this very much. Smaranta smarayantascha mito goga haram harim. Beautiful Sanskrit, isn't it? Would you like to hear it again? Smaranta smarayantascha mito goga haram harim. Wonderful. The devotees, they remember Krishna, smaranta, and smarayanta cha, they remind each other about Krishna. So this process, my dear devotees, brings the prayojana, the ultimate fruit of Krishna consciousness, that is full absorption in Krishna consciousness, like we have heard today. Having achieved love of Godhead, the devotees sometimes cry out loud, etc., etc. So, Narada Muni is saying, Vasudev, I get it. You want to develop pure devotional service and cross over the material world. This is how to do it. The process was explained by Prabudha to, what was the name of the king, please? Maharaj Nimi. Yes, Maharaj Nimi. He explained this, and just do this. Maharaj Nimi did it. He became full in Krishna consciousness. So as you reflect like this, you can also do a second step, which I like to do now where I'm a little older. It is to see if there is something that you read that was similar. And as you study, you will find this one verse in the Bhagavatam where the whole essence of the Bhagavatam's teachings are described. This verse you have heard, I think, many times, but I will read it for you nevertheless. It is a verse which also describes what happens in an advanced state of Krishna consciousness. It is the verse 11 to 40. Nevam vratasva priyanama kirtya jatanurago drutachitta uchai hasatyato roditi rotigayati unmadavanrityati lokabaya. By chant, this verse was explained by Ishvara Puri to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yesterday, you remember perhaps how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Prakashananda his own journey. He said, I was initiated into chanting Hare Krishna, but I noticed after some time that it had so much effect on my consciousness that I laughed and I danced and I thought, is this all right? I mean, I've never heard about a process where you laugh and dance at the end. And I just did a check with my Guru, and my Guru Maharaj Ishvara Puri told me that this is the prayojana, this is the goal of the whole thing. You want to develop love of Godhead. And love is not a rational feeling. Have you noticed? Love is highly trans-rational. So here, and then the Guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught him one verse and said, this is the essence of the entire teachings of the Bhagavatam. By chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord, one comes to the stage of love of Godhead, and then the symptoms are given, how the devotee laughs, how the devotee cries, how he is agitated, how he chants just like a madman or madman, like this, without caring for others. No, he's totally in his world. He doesn't want likes in Facebook any longer. He wants just Krishna. Mercy. Yes, and in this way, my dear devotees, your Bhagavatam study can become mature, and you can taste the sweetness of the Bhagavatam. So let me go with you through the steps. You hear or read, but then you must stop and must do reflection. To help you do reflections, I would highly recommend to you some works which I use myself. First is, which I like best really, is a work which is done by one Gauranga Darshan, a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, who teaches the Bhagavatam in the Govardhan Eco-Village. And he has published a series of study guides to the Bhagavatam called Bhagavat Subodhini. It really will enhance your study of the Bhagavatam. You can order it, and I really don't know directly from him. Most probably you can look it up, Bhagavat Subodhini, and I think it will turn up. Otherwise, I know that in the Bhaktivedanta library service in Radhadesh, I have obtained my copies from there. So that helps you to really see the matrushka, the subject within the subject within the subject, and then as you engage with the text like this, it begins to reveal its beauty to you like a person. Yes, and it begins to just become active. There is a story about how the Bhagavatam becomes active in the life of someone from the life of Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami, of course a great devotee of the Lord, was in Ramakeli, and one night he had a dream that someone would give him the Bhagavatam. And when the dream was finished, it was morning already. It was one of these rapid eye movement dreams, you know, which you get in the last phase of your sleep. And he heard a knocking at the door, and when he opened, it was the same Brahmana he dreamt about, who said, "I have a book for you, here." And he gave him a copy of the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is active. Krishna is active. The process of Krishna consciousness is very active. You only have to engage with the process. And it all starts by getting out of mechanic practice, or mechanic hearing in this case, and entering the reflection, the mananaha. And that will help you to open up the Bhagavatam and taste the sweetness of the Bhagavatam. You become inspired. I often do this myself. I'm in the lucky position that I'm requested by devotees to give Bhagavatam lectures, so I have to prepare myself. So what I do, I take a text, then I take these study guides, and then I read the context, and I'm thinking, my God, is this a good text? And I'm getting new informations from here and there, and so on, or rearranging the old information, and so on. Another study guide which I highly recommend is written by Bhujan Prabhu. It is called Overview of the Bhagavatam, and there are 3 volumes out now. One is called Unveiling His Lotus Feet. That's the first 4 cantos. Then another is I forgot the title. It's the 5th and 6th canto, and then there is a backward glance. That's the 11th and 12th canto. Yeah, I had to concentrate. They also help you. I think if you just hear one text or 2 texts or 3 texts in your reading, but you don't have the whole picture, the context, you might not feel inspired so much to continue your reading. But with this little reflection, it is very easy to taste the nectar of the Bhagavatam. I wish you all the best, and may you catch Krishna in your heart, that Krishna becomes established in your heart and you become a happy devotee. I think as we go into the new year, calendar year, we should all become fans of the Bhagavatam. We will need spiritual nourishment. We will need, otherwise we only know how to talk about football or other things, cooking recipes maybe, or so on. But we will not actually be able to stay on the platform of being absorbed in Krishna. And then our life lacks a dimension and we become dissatisfied spiritually. So this is my little tip for you. Hare Krishna. I hope there was something in for you, and I would now be very happy if we can clarify the subject more by by questions and answers. Let's engage a little with the subject matter. Hare Krishna. Yes, I see one person. Gaurahari? Yes. We have a microphone for all of you when you ask your question. Yes.
Thank you, Gomar. I think I'm convinced. Can you put
Elias is just going and putting everything together.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this class. I feel convinced. And but my question is, how do I do to prioritize reading and studying Bhagavatam in the life? I can see it. Somehow I managed to chant 16 rounds and the service, but it looks the life is just
so far
carrying you, and at the end you read one verse when you are super tired just before sleeping. So how you place that as a priority in your life? How you get the strength, or how do you do it?
Yeah. Very good question. Very good. The life goes on so fast. Do you also feel this? It goes more and more. But maybe that's the wrong life. No. Listen, please. I think all of us need to ask ourselves the question, am I living the right type of life? If we don't ask this question, make necessary corrections, we might end up at the end of our life at the wrong destination, which we didn't want. Let me give you an example. In Sarajevo, I learned this. They have very good, high apartment houses, and our devotees often live in these apartment houses. They're good apartments and good heating system, I found out, which is necessary in Sarajevo in the winter. So I remember one thing. I had an address in one of these apartment houses, and I went into the door at the ground floor, and then this is Sarajevo. Not all of these apartment houses have lifts, so I needed to climb up, and I remember I felt very, wow, this is a good workout, my God. I needed to go to the 7th floor. And I felt very encouraged and enthusiastic. I'm really moving, it's really moving here. I coordinated my breath with my steps, and I was extremely busy. And so then I arrived at the 7th floor. I had the address, some Jelic or something. I don't know if Jelic is a name, last name. Sounds like it, at least. And I looked, there were 4 doors, but my Mr. Jelic was not there. Then I rang at one of the doors and I said, "Kakosti, how are you?" And then to make some contact, and then I asked, "Mr. Jelic? Jelic?" And the person went out of the door and looked at the other doors, but no, there was no Mr. Jelic. This was Mr. Then he asked the question, "Right number?" He knew I. Oh my God! I don't know. What number is this? I said, "Well, this is number 2." Oh, I needed to go number 5. I was moving up the wrong staircase. You follow? I had gone in the wrong entry. I should have gone to number 5, but instead I went to number 2. So all my working, all my breath techniques, all my was für die Katze. That's a way to say it was in vain. But while I was moving, I thought, my God, are we moving? But I was moving the wrong direction. I think many of us are in the same situation. We are moving and we feel maybe in our heart a sense of achievement. We work hard. We do many things. But are we in the right staircase with our life? Dupogiri, now you are thinking, are my decisions right? Do they bring me to where I actually want to go? Look at your day, the way you live your day. Is that how you will go back to Godhead? You have to ask yourself this question. Now you're looking at me, and I am looking at you. Nitai Gunamani. This is a question we should not be afraid to ask. It's a question which we ask to our life, Vrishni Vallabha. It's a question we have to take your life, the way you live it now, and ask yourself the question, is this schedule which I have, does it help me to attain love of Godhead? Otherwise, you might do this, you might work so hard, and as all of you, no one is lazy here. You are all very engaged and so on. But is it the right type of life? Are the things in place which need to be in place in order to obtain the higher goal of life? This is a good question. I can see you all looking. We in our preaching group, we asked this question, and we think we have to do some changes. Like in my own life, I travel into this year, it's this year. The year 2022 for me was very, very busy. You can see my health is not so good. I really tried to give everything I had and so on. But as I look back now into the life, it was a good life. I was only, my life is very happy life. I just travel and give lectures and so on. You know what I do. But still I can see there are few things which I have overlooked in this life, which I feel are absolutely necessary if I want to develop pure love of Godhead. So I will make the appropriate changes and so on. Sometimes we might find ourselves stuck in a life which is asking us to make compromises. This may happen. So then don't become desperate, but at least bring one practice that brings you closer to your goal of life. And this one thing which you do will naturally create in your mind an enthusiasm and an insight and an understanding, so that you easily can bring in more aspects. When you start with one thing that is right, usually more right things follow. Have you noted this? There is a law of this. We can ask Mangala, you have spoken about die Ressourcenkarawane, ne? Yes. So it's you cannot maybe change all your life at once, but then do one thing that is super correct, and you will see this thing brings more in it. Why is this so, Mangala? Or it's just like that, or? Aha. it's a principle of sattva. Please, sag doch ein bisschen das.
I guess it's a principle of energy, that every energy attracts more of the same energy.
Ja.
And if we get Krishna energy in our life just a little bit, it attracts more of Krishna energy.
Wonderful.
Of course, Krishna energy is supported by sattvic energy, so we can then start adding sattva and automatically drives out rajas.
Yes. Yes. Especially by hearing, Krishna comes into our heart and then he becomes active. He, all of a sudden you will find, oh, I don't have any desire any longer to do this time waster, to engage in this time wasting activity. You will find it, you will ask, wow, what happened to me? Well, Krishna has happened to you. He was I'm making the sound of street sweeping, Good. Yes. Yes. We have a microphone for you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You mentioned the lecture that before we start focusing on Krishna, we should learn how to deal with Vaishnava, how to associate with devotees. In this, I have a question. As someone who just started the process of Krishna consciousness, how we should practically deal with the Vaishnavas or devotees in simple ways. And the second question is that if suppose we come up with a conflict of views with the devotees, how we should effectively deal with it?
Wonderful, wonderful question. Yes, the way to deal with devotees of the Lord is given in this Bhagavatam verse. We should learn to associate with devotees on the spiritual platform. This is very, very important. If you look around in this room, most of the people are not people whom you would ordinarily meet. You meet these devotees only, you meet with these people in the room only because we are all engaged in one activity, that is to celebrate Krishna, to serve Krishna. So if this unifying principle of serving Krishna is not there in the association of devotees, there is no reason to stay with these people. There is no... You follow, no? Yes. So, therefore, the Bhagavatam says one should learn to associate with the devotees of the Lord by hearing and chanting. This is what we do the whole time here during this Sanga Mela. Or we should serve together. We should unify. Prabhupada once gave a lecture where he said, the world is needing Krishna consciousness desperately. We should not waste our time between us to argue between us about minor differences. We should unite in this one work to give the world what it needs, Krishna consciousness. So here he brings out the principle that associate on the unifying principle. Now, when there are differences of views, which will happen, someone thinks we should have, we should rent the church in Amsterdam for a program, and someone else thinks, no, let us all make a pilgrimage to the Bhakti, to Radhadesh, and so on. No? So there may be different views, and we should not quarrel because of these views. We should just sit and discuss what is best. No? And what is best, what is our criterion here? What is best for the service of the devotees and Krishna? There will be differences. Please don't be an illusion. As long as we are in a material body and have a material mind, there will be different perspectives. Someone has this type of education, another has another education, someone has this inclination or this tendency, another has that inclination or tendency. There will be differences. To expect that there are no differences amongst devotees is to expect an utopia, something that cannot stand in reality. But we need to work out our differences by referring to the unifying principle that this is service for Krishna, and cooperate in whatever way. And sometimes you may need to say, okay, I see it differently, but you see it like this. Then let us do like you see. No. Let me not be so attached to my perspective, because after all, it's only a viewpoint. A view from a point. You stand at another point and have another view. You learn this when you become older. You don't become so attached to your own ways. Hare Krishna. At least this is how it should go. It should go. Hare Krishna. It's more important to be unified in Krishna consciousness than to be right. Or have your own way, so to say. Yes, here is Chaitanya, no? Some Chaitanya. Nitai Chanda. Also.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for today's class. It was very practical. I'm very excited to try about what you gave. Also, some more thing which I wanted to get some tips about is like one of the prominent points which I want to take back from this Sangha is that important principles you were mentioning about always remembering Krishna and never forgetting.
Yes.
So like in everyday life as a devotee, it's never 0 or 1. Like I what's the threshold? Because when do I know that okay I forgot it? Because also in follow up to Prabhu's question, it's like fast pace. I always think okay it's doing good, everything is fine, and then when I come to Sangha, then I realize oh no, it was not so good. So yes, something about it.
I will give a brief answer to this question. How do I know? How do I check myself? And then I will end, because I just noted you must be hungry. It's already 9:30. It's a scandal. I'm so sorry. I became so inspired that I didn't look at my wristwatch. In devotional life, a spiritual life, you should stop for some time, from time to time, and you should ask yourself 2 simple questions, and then you know where you are on the map. The first simple question is, am I becoming more detached from Maya? Is that working? Do I become more detached from Maya? The second question is, do I become more attached to Krishna? And you can easily find it out. It's easily. You can even check how you feel. When you're more attached to Maya, you become more upset, more irritable, more this. And if you feel I become more attached to Krishna, you become more. You really can leave the world of illusions behind, and you are very satisfied in your heart. Very satisfied. This is a simple answer, but sometimes it's good to have simple things, which work immediately. I want to thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry I went over time. This happens when the subject matter is so inspiring for the speaker. Thank you very, very much. Let us just hear Gaura Hari. Gaura Hari, I heard yesterday you announced that there is lasagna, and there was no lasagna. I received about 50 complaints.
And I'm very fearful now to announce that we will have a pizza here open today. Now we have another oven for pizza here. The pizza party should be working out more or less from 6 to 8, 9 o'clock it will be open. And for the rest today we have more kirtan. We start actually earlier, half an hour earlier, and we will go up to the midnight with a lot of kirtans. So in Sacinandana Swami will also give Vilakata in the evening, and we will have also beautiful slideshow. We will all be transported to Srivrindavan, and at the end we will end with a Sankalpa ceremony for moving into the other year. So we want to actually absorb ourselves, end the year with really brilliant absorption in Krishna consciousness. There will be also Mahendra's seminar at 12:30 in the Bach House, which is connected to prayer to the devotees of the Lord. And two more things. In case you want to take Radha Mohan with you back, because we are soon coming to the end of the festival, we have beautiful calendar 2023 with beautiful darshan of the deities. You can have them in the temple if you are interested. And another announcement from Manjusha.
Yes, Hare Krishna. So, very nice to have all of you for all of these days. We have part of the temple, which is a few kilometers away, which is very connected to Golokadam, and that's the Govinda Company, where we produce lots of prasadam, which is distributed all over Europe. We are actually the only company in Europe who produces Krishna's ladus. So they are going out all over Europe. And this company, many devotees work there. And today we are open. We are open for the public every Saturday from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And today you can come, you can have a tasting of the sweets, and you can have a tour of the company. And we used to see it like this, that like when you go to Mayapur Dham, you go to see Shri Radha Madhava, but you have not really been in Mayapur Dham if you have not gone to the Jagannath temple. Yeah. So for Golokadam, our Govinda Company is like the Jagannath temple. So please come and visit. We have lots of health products, and you can have a tour of the company, you can have sweets, we have also been serving these sweet balls during the whole festival. So it's open, and there's you will find outside these cards, and there's the address. The cards will be outside, so you can just take the card and you can easily find it. And if you come with a group, we will easily make a nice tour for you, and we are happy to serve you like this. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Vielen Dank für die Vorlesung. Da du da lässt fragen, ob du heute Nacht die Mitternacht machen möchtest. Gerne. Okay, sehr gut. Dann
Hare Krishna.